Hi modern fashion designers, welcome back to this channel. I want to say a very big thank you to all my returning subscribers, and if this is your first time here, you're highly welcome. Please feel free to join us by clicking on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so I get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you. So in today's class, we're going to be learning how to draft, cut and sew a corset top. And guess what, guys, this is beginners friendly. So for this class, you're going to be needing your shoulder length, shoulder to bust point, your bust circumference, shoulder to your underbust, your underbust circumference, your shoulder to your front top length, shoulder to your back top length, and of course your round measurement. That is, if your top length is going to be stopping at your waist length, you're going to get your waist measurement, and if you're extending it below your waist length, you're going to get the particular measurement on that particular point your top length is going to be stopping. So first thing first, we're going to be starting with all the vertical measurements. So I'm going to be using here the starting line, while this place will serve as the center front. So coming from this starting line here, which is also the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 11 inches for the bust point, 15 inches for the underbust, and 20 inches for the top length. So having done that, what I would do is to connect the lines to indicate all the points. So after connecting the lines like this, what I'm going to do is to label these as the bust point, the underbust, and the top length. So after this, what we're going to do now is to get the chest line. The chest line I'm working with is 8.8 inches. How did I get it? I divided my bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 plus an additional 1 inch. So to get yours, divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 plus an additional 1 inch. That will give you your chest line. So this is my chest line here. Next, what I'm going to do is to come to this starting line here to get the shoulder measurement. So I'm working with a shoulder of 16 inches, and I will divide it by 2, which will give me 8. I'll also come to this chest line here and impute the same 8 inches. Then I'll come to this starting line here where I made the point. I'll come down by 1.5 inches for the front shoulder slope. And from there, from the point of the shoulder slope, I'm going to connect back to the chest line. Next is for me to get the basic neckline. So I'm working with a basic neckline of 3.2 inches. How did I get it? I divided my bust circumference by 12. So divide us, whatever you have is your basic neckline for the front depth and the front width. So having done this, I'm going to connect like this with my curve rule. And from this neckline here, I'm going to connect to this shoulder slope with a slanted line. So after this, what I will do is to come to this chest line. From this chest line here, I'll go up by 3 inches. If you've been following me, you will notice this is what we always do. And from that point of the 3 inches, I'll come in by 0.75. This is for us to get the armhole curve, and from that point I'll connect back to the shoulder. So sorry guys, this part is a little bit blurred, but not to worry, it's going to clear soon. So what I will do next is to go to my chest line, divide my bust circumference by 4. So I'm working with a bust circumference of 38. When I divide it by 4, I'll have 9.5 inches. So this is 9.5 inches, and because I will not be making use of a sleeve, there is no need for ½ inch for ease. So I'll connect like this. Now having done this, what we're going to get now is the dot line. So how do you get it? Divide your bust span measurement by 2. My bust span measurement is 8. When I divide by 2, I will have 4 inches. So this 4 inches here, I will also take it up to the bust point here. And from there, from the point of the bust point, I will connect down to the top length line. After this, what I'm going to do now is to go to this shoulder slope here, divide what I have here by two equal halves, and I'll put a mark on the center, and from that mark there here I'm going to connect back to the bust point like this. So after this, what I will do now is to determine the bust radius. So how do you get the bust radius? Come to this bust point here and get the difference between this bust point to the under bust. So for me, I have 4 inches. So this 4 inches, I'm going to come up here from this bust point here. I'm going to go up by 4 inches. Remember, yours can be 3, can be 3.5. So whatever you have as your bust radius, go up from the bust point by 8. So from there, I will rule a line to indicate it. Having done this, what I'm going to do now is to tighten the over bust. So for this, I'm working with a bust of 38 inches. I'm going to be taking 1 inch on both sides. So if your bust circumference is below 38 inches, do 0.75 on both sides. So from this point here, I'll connect back to the bust point like this on the both sides. After this, what we are going to do next is to tighten the under bust. So we are going to be tightening this under bust. If you have been following me, we notice there is a way we tightened the under bust of our bustier class. But for this, remember I said it's going to be beginners friendly. So I'm going to be giving you some figures that have been working for me, and if you use it perfectly, it's going to be working for you. So for this now, I'm going to come in here on both sides by 1.25. Then if your bust is below 36 inches, what you do is 1 inch on both sides. And if you're working with a bigger bust of 40 to 45 inches, you do 1.5 on both sides. So having done this 1.25 on both sides, I'm going to come down to this top length line here and also take the same 1.25 on both sides. So I'll connect from this under bust down to the top length like this, connecting the two dot lines together. I'll also pick up my curve rule to connect the curve. So I want you to pay attention to how I'm placing the curve. So this is how you're going to place your curve like this. So from this point here, I'll connect back to the under bust and also take it to the other side like this and connect from here, from this mark here to the under bust. Your curve must not necessarily get to this center line here. So the essence of it is for us to eliminate every sharp point. So place your curve rule like this and connect. So we are going to be making all these lines, these markings visible, more visible with our marker pen. After this, what we're going to be doing now is to get our horizontal measurement. So I'll come to this chest line here, divide my bust circumference by 4. So I have 9.5 inches. Then I'll measure what I have on this dot line here on the chest line. I have 1.1 inches. So I'm going to replace it here. I also come to the underbust line. I'm working with an underbust of 13 inches. When I divide it by 4, I have 7.5 inches. So I'm going to impute it. Now this 1.25 dot on both sides, which will give us 2.5 inches. I'm also going to replace it on this underbust line. So remember the dot we took. This is the dot here. So coming to the top length line, I have 32 inches. When I divide it by 2 by 4, we have 8 inches. So this is 8 inches. I also measure what I have here, the 2.5 inches that I will replace it on this line. and from there I'll connect up to the underbust and back to the chest line. Okay, having done this, what we're going to do now is to come to this chest line here. I'm going to use the broken lines to indicate this chest line here. So now what we are going to do is to get that center, you know, on your bra cup, you notice that there is a center that differentiates, that separates the two cups. So what we are going to do now is to impute that center. So I'm coming down here. You can decide how deep you want it to be, but for me, I'll come down from the chest line by ½ inch, and from that center here, center front, I'll also go in by ½ inch. So I will make it visible. Then I'll come to this bust point here, also go in by ½ inch, and from the 2 points here I will connect like this. After this, we're going to connect the first cup part. So come to this bust point here, starting from the bust point line here to the underbust. So place your curve rule like this and connect. What we are going to do next is to connect the top part here. Also place your curve rule like this and connect. So what we're going to do now is to get the other curve for the other part here, but before we do that, we're going to be introducing a bust dart. If you've been following me, you notice I always make use of a bust dart. Reason is because the front top length and the back top length are not usually the same. So mine is 1 inch difference, yours could be 1, could be 2, it could be 1, could be 2.5, could even be 3 inches. So whatever your top length difference is, that is what you're going to be using as your bust dart. So the front top length is 20 inches while the back is 19. So the difference between 20 and 19 is 1 inch. So I'll come to this bust point here and come down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect back to the top, to the bust point. Now before we draw this cup part here, we're going to first of all close this bust dart. Reason is because if you go ahead to draw this part here without closing this bust dart, you find out that this other part here will not be meeting by this side here. So before we draw this part here, we are going to close up this bust dart. So remember, before you close a dart, you first of all open another dart. So we are going to be slashing through this waist dart here to enable us close this bust dart. So we are slashing through this waist dart here up to the bust point. After this, we also slash through this bust dart. So slash through the bust dart line here like this. After slashing, you carry this part here and place it on this bust point line here. Okay. So after placing it there, what you do is to use your tape to hold it down like this. Now after holding it down, you notice that this point here, this line is no longer meeting up. What you do is to blend it up like this. After blending, we can now draw this other cup side here. Now come to this upper part here and go in by 1.5 inches. If you're making for a bigger bust, you can go in by 1.25, and if the person is very busty, you go in by 1 inch. From this point of 1.5 inches, now I'm going to connect to the under bust with my curve rule. So I'm going to be placing my curve rule like this to draw this other cup part here. So after this, we are also going to cover up the upper part like this. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is to bring in my bust radius. Remember, we are working with a bust radius of 4 inches. So I will come to this dart line here and measure 4 inches. So from this bust point here, this is 4 inches. So I'll also go to this other line here to measure 4 inches. The essence of this is to make sure none of this cup is longer than the other. So I'll measure the same 4 inch here. As you can see, this is where our 4 inch is from the bust point here. So I'll connect from this point here to this other curve this side. Now if you have gone ahead to connect from this side, you notice that this particular cup will be longer than this particular side here. So we place the curve rule like this, starting from this point here to this other dot line here, touching the 4 inch that we have already marked out. So after this, what we are going to do is to blend this sharp point here. Now we also make this other part here visible. So guys, this is it for this front pattern. I'll come to this place and I will put a label here. I'm going to label this cup 1 and cup 2. Now this is the center front that will be put on fold. We are cutting this on fold. This is CF, the center front, and this is SF as the side front. So guys, remember we have not added any seam allowances to this. We are going to be adding all these necessary seam allowances to the fabric. So if you've watched up to this point, thank you so much. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Now we are going to be cutting this. Pay attention to how I am cutting this out. Don't forget to like and comment on this video. So this is all for the front. This is the front pattern set here. Now we're going to go over to the back part. Now for the back part, we are also going to get all the vertical measurements. So this is remember the chest point we're working with. The chest line is 8.8 inches. The bust point is 11 inches. And the top length for the back is 19 inches. So this is 11 inches and 19 inches for the top length. I'm going to rule a line to indicate all the points. So this is the chest line, this is the bust point, and this is the back top length. Now what we're going to do is to come to this shoulder here, get our shoulder measurement divided by 2. It's not really necessary, we are just putting them here as a guide. I also get the basic neckline here, come down here by 1 inch here. I did 3 by 1. I will rule. Now we come to the chest line, the same measurements we did for the shoulder, that is shoulder divided by 2. We impute the same measurement here, and also come to this shoulder here and come down by 1 inch for the back shoulder slope, and from the mark of the 1 inch we're going to connect down to the chest line. We also connect back from the shoulder to the neckline. So after this, we are going to divide what we have on this armhole line here by 2 equal halves. Put a mark on the center here, and from that mark we're going to go in by half an inch, 0.5 inch, and we connect back to the shoulder slope. So after this, what we are going to do now is to measure to get the dot line, bust part measurement divided by 2, take it up to the chest line. Mine is 8 divided by 2 will give me 4. Then I'll connect like this. Then I'll come to this top length line here. I'll go in, I'll take 0.75 inch on both sides. Then I'll also go up to the chest line here and open it up by 0.25 on both sides. After this, I'll connect the dot lines together. So connect the 2 points like this. Having done this, what I'm going to do now is to take the bust measurement. So go to the chest line, I'll do boss divided by 4. So my boss is 38. That's 8 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. Then I'll also take this ½ inch for that yarn and place it back. I'll also come to this top length line here and do my 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. And this 1.5 inches that we have taken here, I'm going to replace it back on this top length line here. After this, I'll connect from this top length line up to the chest line, meeting the points. So this curve here is not really necessary, because we are not going to be making use of this upper part here. This is the part we are going to be making use of from the chest line down. Remember, our front part here, we stopped at this chest line, so the back is also going to stop at this chest line here. So we are not going to be making use of the upper part. So now what you're going to do is to determine if you want the back to be as straight as it is here, or you want it to go down a bit. So for me, I am coming down by 1 inch from the chest line. So if you want it to be deeper, you can come down by any inches of your choice. And from that, my 1 inch here, I'm going to connect back to the sides like this. After this, remember, if you want to make use of a zipper, you add your zipper allowance to this side here. But for me, I'm not going to be making use of a zipper. I'm going to be installing an eyelet here. So what I will do now is to determine how the opening I want on this back part here, how open I want the center back to be. So I'm coming in here by 2 inches on this top side, and on this down part here, I want to go in by 1.5 inches. Remember, you can decide to slant this, you can decide to make it a V shape, you can decide to make it straight like this. You can also decide to make it a V shape by going in, like for me, I did 2 inches on the up, then 1.5 on the down. You can decide to do less than 1.5. That's if you want the back to have a V shape. So after this, I'm going to connect the 2 inches points to the 1.5 inches point like this. So this part now will serve as my modesty panel. So this is for those that do not want their back side to show. And for this part, this is the side I'll be installing my eyelet. I hope you understand. So now I'm going to be cutting this out to be able to eliminate this dart here. You all know me, I don't like sewing dart on my dresses, so I'm going to be cutting through this chest line here. So after eliminating this dart here and blending it up, then I can now cut out from the 1 inch step down that I did. So sorry, this is the right part to cut out, not the center part. Please, you are cutting through one of the dart lines and not on the center line. After that, carry this part here and place it on the last dart line like this, not on the center line. Please place it like this, then you tape. After taping, you notice that these two lines here are no longer meeting. These and these are no longer meeting each other. That is exactly the reason why I didn't cut through this line. I had to cut through this other line so that after blending here, I can now cut it out. So place your ruler like this and blend. So after blending, you cut. After this, I also cut out the modesty panel. So if I don't want my back to show, this is the panel I'll be making use of. So for those of us that wouldn't want their back to show, you make use of it. Not to worry, I'm going to show you how to transfer this modesty panel to fabric. So guys, this is all for the back part. This is the front pattern set here, as you can see. And this here is the back pattern set. This is the back party and this is the modesty panel. So we've come to the end of this part here. As you can see, this video is already lengthy, so we are going to stop here. In the part 2 of this video is where we did the cutting of this pattern with all the necessary seam allowances, and we also did the sewing on the part 2 of this video. So the link to this part 2 of this video is on the description below, or you can also check on the comment. There's a pinned comment that contains the link to the part 2 of this video. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Please, if you're yet to subscribe, please join us by clicking on the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video, and I will see you in my next class. Bye for now.